I noticed is talking about the night of the brawl, the rumble in Dallas, that happened between, Jackie and Jade and Bree and Sweetpea or whatever. I'm gonna talk about that night, but I want to start from the beginning of that night up until that point, what y'all saw on the cameras and shit, right? So anyway, me and my homegirl Nisa, shout out to Nisa B. We was planning the event in Dallas, because me and Nisa, had this debate about who was the next king of R&B or the new king of R&B, like who was better than who. She felt Jacquees, I felt Vito. So we was planning our event in Dallas. We went in out a club, which is Farago's club, 88's Pop. We went in that club out and we booked Jacquees and we booked Vito. You can look this up, type in Jacquees for Vito, Nisa B, So we booked Jacquees and Vito. We gonna have them come through and they gonna go song for song on stage. Cool. We also gonna have ladies free before midnight. Cool. Alright, so me and Nisa planned the event. We booked the two singers, We rented out the club, which was easy because, me and Farago were close, Alright, cool. It's a Saturday night. Nisa flies down from Miami to Dallas, it's the Natalie event. We all there, Nisa's there, I'm there. Of course, Jacquees and Vito show up. A lot of ladies, being that the ladies from Sweet Before Midnight, it's a lot of ladies. There was more ladies before men and shit, So, night's going, smooth, pretty cool and shit. I noticed, Jade and her sister and all her friends was live, I guess they was hopping, And, I seen there was live. I typed in, Jade's chat on Instagram or wherever she was live. I typed in the chat. I said, yo, won't y'all come through over at Farago's club? We got Jacquees versus Vito. They performing tonight. They doing a little verses live. So they said, oh shit. So they was like, we on our way. So I made sure I greeted Jade and her sister at the door because, me and Jade been cool ever since, like I told y'all before, when I was living with SD and Jade, when I caught that gun charge. Me and Jade became cool, So I go to the front of the club, waiting for Jade. Jade and her sister, sisters, they show up. Boom, I get them in. Get them a section, get them the table bottles, all that, with the sparklers, all that. So we chillin', Jacquees and, Vito, they performing, song for song, everybody singing along, dancing, feeling good, we chilling, the night's going smooth, night's going normal, get a notification, I look on my phone, I see, SD is live, he's live, him and Jackie talking live or whatever, I ain't thinking much of it, so we like, we chilling. Vibing to the music, Jay's sister Bree, they grinding on me, they twerking on me, dancing, cool, it's all love, So I guess, Jay sat down for a minute, and she looked at her phone, she must have got the same notification that I got, and she seen that SD was live, so she looking, and she see that, him and Jackie is online talking, but from what I could hear a little bit inside the club, they was talking about something innocent, it wasn't. But Jay had a lot to drink, so she was feeling some kind of way, because, SD and Jackie, they ain't date, but I think he was trying to court her. He wanted to get with her, but it didn't work out. So Jay must have felt some kind of way, and she's like, yo, what the fuck, why he live with this bitch? So she's typing in the chat, Bree and, Bree, her sister, and the other girl she was with. Nisa and me, we all vibing to the music with Jay just sitting there looking at the phone, just typing. You could tell when somebody's serious and they type it and So I don't know. She wasn't really couldn't really talk and the music was loud. So she typing. Alright, cool. Here comes the end of the show. Jacquees and Vito, they performed all these songs, they leave. Had a little bit of party, After that, but after that, spot's closing down. So, being that, we rented the spot and, it's 88's Pops, nightclub, we able to stay in there late as we want, so we chillin'. Mostly everybody else is gone, but everybody that know Farago and me, they still around, we chillin'. So that's when Jade hits the live and goes live, so Jade is arguing with SD, and then she started arguing with Jackie, but Jackie's kinda like baffled, like, what were you talking about? Just cussing out, but then I guess the connection was going in and out, so it was like some miscommunication, but SD kept telling Jay, you drunk, relax. Me and Nisa, we just sitting there quiet looking at each other like, oh shit. You know, so so Jay and this arguing with SD like, motherfucker, why you talking to this bitch? Why you got this bitch up? And then SD like, baby, you drunk, relax. And she said something to Jackie. Jackie said, what? So then they started arguing back and forth. She was like, bitch, I'll pull up. Jackie said, homo, you said what? I couldn't hear you. You said she was like, send the address. So cool. So somehow we all made our way outside. It was me, Nisa, Jade, Bree, the other sister. We all outside, cause now, Farago's closing up, but Jade is still arguing with Jackie. So Jackie was supposed to pull up to the club. So me and Nisa and all of us, we sitting on the side. I call 88 on the Bluetooth in my ear. I call 88 and I'm like, cause 88 was out with her friends having drinks. You could look that up. She was out somewhere else having drinks with her friends. That's why she didn't come to the event. So I'm talking to 88 on the Bluetooth. I'm like, yo, I think Jackie and Jay about to fight. She like, what? I'm like, yeah, so I'll get her. And I'm texting SD at the same time. He's typing back, but at the same time, he's arguing with Jade over the phone. And Jackie like, all right, I'm pulling up. So Jackie was supposed to come up to the club, but, I guess she was taking too long. So, fucking Jade was like, yo, she was like, all right, we're going to go to whatever address. So, as they left, I looked at Nisa, I said, yo, the house like I know Dallas like the back of my hand now. Since I've been out here hustling, I was like, yo, we gonna follow them. I want to see a fight. And Nisa was like, yeah, we want to see a fight. So me and Nisa walked to my car. And good thing I had the all-black BM, tinted out, So we get in the car, we following Jade. We following Jade like wherever they at. Plus, Nisa got the live on her phone, so we watching them argue. Jackie driving, Jade driving, I'm behind Jade, so, we want to see a fight. Cool. Somehow, Jay winds up at the house, where her SD live, and I know, cause, like I said, I was living there. So I parked to where they could see me. Me and Nisha's like, it was like, where we at? I'm like, yo, this is on SD and on Jay's spot, this is where I was living at. But I caught that gunshot, she was like, oh, so we watching. SD comes out. So Jay's all in SD face, but couldn't really hear, because SD put the live on mute, and plus we up the block, we don't want them to see us. Plus SD felt some kind of way, cause I guess he thought I was messing with his girl or whatever, when I really didn't, I was just sleeping with all her friends in front of him. But anyway, so I'm watching. So she swings on SD, she, hitting, but he's like hitting her back, he's like trying to calm her down, like, yo, you junk, chill. So I guess he goes in the car. He takes out his gun. I guess, he taking his gun from her because she did say that she had like a switch on her. She was going to use that shit. And SD was like, nah, that's my shit. He's like, you're going to get me in trouble. That's my shit. So I guess he took his gun from her. And then, he just threw his hands up. He put his gun on his waist and threw his hands up and walked to the house. So we still got the live, But SD is still live, but I guess he had his phone in his pocket. And now we see he's back live where we could see him. And we see Jade hop in the car. So Jackie like, where this bitch at? I'm at this address, whatever. So now Jade and her sister pull off. Me and Nisa, we following. Boom. So they said we gonna be at this address. I forgot what address it was. It was something with an L. We went over there. I sped over there. I knew where that was at. Sped over there. Boom. Parked up. I see Jackie was still alive. Talking about, why would y'all go over there when we was over here in Dallas? Come over to this address. So then, that's when Jay said, alright, nah, we gonna meet over here. by this 7-Eleven diddle-diddle-loom. So I knew it at, so that's what Jackie said, I'm on my way. So you see Jackie moving the steering wheel. That's when I stepped on the gas, I'm moving. I'm like, I know where that's at. So I'm speeding. I'm like the Dukes of Hazzard. I'm speeding, trying to beat all of them there before I get there. Boom. So I pull up. I'm at 7-Eleven. And Nisa like, this is it? I was like, I said, I guess so. So boom, I seen Jackie drive by. I'm like, okay. So I follow Jackie. Then Jade is like, nah, we over here in this one. So I spit. Boom, boom, boom. So I get to that 7-Eleven where they said that where it was at. I park up. Boom, I park up, turn off all the lights. So I told Nisa, get your phone out. So she get her phone out, laughing and shit. So she got her phone set up. She holding her phone. She in the passenger seat. I'm in the driver's seat. We got the lights off. So, so now I'm still talking to 88 in my ear, and I'm talking to SD through text. So I'm telling SD like, yo, we here. We parked up. We waiting to see, if they gonna come through. I was like, 'cause we at this address that they said they gonna be at. So SD like, he texted me back. He like, all right, cool. He was like, just stay on post. And 88's like, yo, so what's happening? I'm like, yo, we here. So next thing you know, we here also on the live. Jade told me, oh, that's her. And then I'm like, oh shit, that's there go Jade's car. And then I see Jackie pull it up behind. I'm like, oh shit. So they pulled up right in front of us. And lo and behold, soon as both car doors open, Jackie car door open, Jade car door, Jade comes running out. Jackie, then they fight. We like, ooh. So I'm like, yo. I'm like, 88, they fighting. She's like, ooh, bitch. So I'm like, yeah, they fight. So 88, he like, ooh, who win it? I was like, well, they tussling. I was like, so they tussling, wrestling. Niece's filming, and with a smile on her face, laughing like, oh shit. So Niece's filming in the passenger seat. I'm texting SD at the same time, and we also got the live with SD. SD like, oh lord, they out here fighting. SD like, oh lord, they out there fighting. I guess he was saying that to whoever was in his background. So they tussling. Jade gets on top first. Boom, boom, boom. Jade gets on top. Then I see Sweetpea hopped out. Boom. Then the sister Bree was like trying to keep her back, but it was another girl. I thought she was filming, but as we found out later on, I guess she didn't know how to work the camera. So they fighting. Boom. Jade's on top. Somehow Sweetpea slipped through, kind of like Emmett Smith, and was able to push, Jade off of Jackie. So that's when Bree and Sweetpea get the fighting in the corner. I'm like, ooh. So now Jackie's on top. Boom, boom. But then they flip back over. So it's like pandemonium. It's crazy. So I'm like, oh shit. So I'm telling 88 everything that happened, and she's like, god damn. She's going crazy on the phone. SD, he's on the live, like, yo, I can't see nothing. What the fuck are y'all doing? And he texted me like, I'm like, yo, they out here getting it in. So they fighting for like, it seemed like maybe 10 seconds. They fighting. So I'm like, yo, SD like, yo, see if we can break that shit up. He texted me. I'm like, alright, so as soon as I open the car door, I step my foot. As soon as I step my foot on the ground, I see a car pull up, like, just come through. I'm like, I thought it was undercover cops at first, so I stopped. I'm like, what the fuck? The car door opens, and it was like, how when Wolverine get mad, his claws just pop up out his hand. I seen a hand, and then I just seen a back come up. I'm like, what the fuck? So then when the lady, or whoever the person was, the lady comes out, I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, that's Jackie's mother. That's Mama Topics or T Topics or whatever. So 88's like, what? But she was like, what Mama Topics doing there? I said, I don't know, but she got a back. And she like, what? I'm like, yeah, so Nisa's still filming. So now Nisa gets out the car to get a better view. She filming. I'm separate. I'm out the car. I'm watching. So T Topics got the back. She holding that motherfucker up in the air like motherfucking the movie Lean on Me with Joe Clark. And Morgan Freeman was like, yeah, they call me Crazy Joe. Now you can call me Batman. He had the bat in the air like that. It started swinging that motherfucker around like Jackie Chan. So motherfucker's backing up. I'm like, oh shit. So after that, the girls back up while, T Topics is swinging the bat. And then when Jay got up, Jackie tried to trip her, but Jay fell and then rolled and flipped. And then I seen Sweetpea got the Don Julio bottle. Boom, it hit somebody in the head. I couldn't tell. There was, people in the way. Then after that, Jade and them got in the car. Jade, Bree, and the other girl got in the car, but as they took off, they forgot to wait for the other girl to get in the back seat. So that girl got dragged a little bit and shit. We like, whoa, and Nisa was like, oh shit. But then they stopped. The girl got in, then they pulled off, and then I seen Toppage pitch something up. I'm like, yo, what is that Toppage picked up? I was like, yo, I think Jade dropped something. And T Toppage picked it up. And I'm like, but I ain't think nothing of it. So me and Nisa get in the car. We sitting there, we still watching. We be peeping the scene. I text SD, I'm like, yo, Jade and Bree and them, they just left. But I think Jade dropped something because I see Mama Toppage pick something up. He was like, what? Then he was like, then that's when Jade, I guess on the live was saying she lost her ID. So SD like, how the fuck you lose your ID? So SD texted me and was like, yo bro, he said, see if you can get that ID. I said, hit up Jackie and see if she's willing. So that's when we seen him on live. Y'all can look this up. He asked Jackie, yo, can you meet up with somebody to get that ID? And she was like, nah, fuck that. So he was like, yeah, Jackie's like giving the ID back. So I'm like, alright. So once I seen Jackie, Sweetpea, and Mama Toppage pull off, that's when me and Nisa quietly pulled, though they didn't even notice our car, noticing the BM parked, with the lights off to the side. So after they all drove off, that's when I drove off, and that was a crazy night, man. The Rumble in Dallas, man, that shit was wild. But if you ask me, honestly, man, to me that fight was a tie, you know what I mean? To me that fight was a tie, 'cause like I said, it was back and forth. 1 minute Jay was on top, next minute Jackie was on top. Sweetpea and Bree, they did their thing, you know what I mean? But you could tell they both was really focusing on the main fight, so they scrapped up, but nothing serious, like, you know what I mean? And like I said, Jackie was on top a little long at the top because Mama Toppers had that bat, but I still draw that as a tie. So that's just my opinion on the Rumble in Dallas, you know what I mean?